Hello and welcome to the space between ideas. I'm Blank Gates and we have an exciting show for you today. It's day 65 and, you know, I guess we're not quite there yet. Because 100, if you have 99 and you divide it by 3, then you get 33, 66, 99. Plus then there's an extra 2 days. You got to divide those in half. So we got to get to day 67. When we get to when we get to day 67, we will be we will be 2/3 of the way through this long, arduous process of the 101 day challenge. Wow. And I'll tell you the craziest thing. There is still snow outside today. It actually snowed last night. The wind, I could hear the wind pushing up against the window. I didn't have the window quite closed tight enough, and so it was like really loud. And I woke up and there was snow everywhere. Even right now, it's snowing. I can't even see out of the window because there's so much snow coming down right now. And it's what? It's like we're halfway through March. We're almost 2/3 of the way through this challenge. And, I was all talking about like, hey, there's going to be flowers and green grass, when we finish this challenge. Well, that's like, what are we? If we're 30, so if 33 days plus 1, 34 days is when we hit day 67, and today's day 65, then that's like 35, 36. So we got 36 more days. So we got like a little bit more than a month to go. Amazing. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for learning with me. Thank you for learning Create Crucial Insight themes to help you think about business. If today's your first day, remember, this is a playlist. You can go to my playlists here on YouTube and select the playlist 101 Themes and just start from the beginning. Go ahead, walk your way through all. So the thing is, like with we created this idea of badges. All right. So basically, what it means to get a badge is when you get all the way through one checklist, then you get a badge. And it can be difficult for you if you're in this video, because there's like so many things that we've already talked about, which will be helpful for you. You need a bunch of badges to really know what the heck we're talking about right now. But maybe I can make it a little more simple. All right, so imagine we have an example. All right, so let's go straight from the book, Create Crucial Insight. Now, this is the endeavor. All right, so if you're new to the channel, endeavor. That's your first challenge. All right, the endeavor is a company improves its operation via a company-wide grassroots innovation program based in part on a new type of information technology. All right, so what does that mean? So like 30 years ago, when the author, Dr. Thomas Buchholz, was working with a company that did not have computer systems, or at least they didn't really have the newest, best type of computer software in order to improve their competitiveness and to be able to offer better services on the market. And they brought in some guys which could provide for them this new software solution. So this innovation program is centered around adopting this new type of software and being the newest, best type of service provider. I have not asked the author of the book which company that was, but I think if you buy the book and you read it, I'm sure you can. I have just never tried to put that together, because actually every single checklist in this book uses the same two examples: the example of hiring a salesperson, and the example of trying to improve the operations of this certain company using some type of innovation program. And part of that innovation program is to include some technology. Now, so this program, all right, so it says there's a corporation, and it is going to, it's going to have this new innovation program. And the program has 7 principles. All right? 7 principles. Now, what Dr. Puckles has done is he has connected the principles of the program with a variety of purposes. So over the last, 5-6 days, we've been talking about specifically about 5 purposes that are connected with people who really like to shape potential. There's something inside of their hearts and minds. When it comes to shaping potential, they're just, they jump off their seat. Let's do it. I got some ideas. I want to shape this potential. Let's do it. And then yesterday, we talked about forming agendas. So then you got this other group of people who are like, wow, that's a great idea. Let's make a plan. I love making plans. Plans are fantastic. Now, today, there's going to be a new type of purpose that we're going to talk about. And I thought the best way to introduce this purpose is to give this example. So we're going to have the program principles on one side, and then we're going to see how it connects to today's purpose. All right, so today's purpose, it's called optimize risk taking or exposure to risk. All right, so yesterday, now there's only 2 purposes in the book which are connected with the idea of forming agendas. Now remember, forming agendas means to do the research, figure out if you have enough information, use that information to build some scenarios about how you can move forward, and then choose the plan that you want to go ahead and do right now. Now, yesterday we were talking about what? Gain goals. I like to make plans because I like the feeling of gaining this goal. I like the feeling of gaining purpose. I like the feeling of having a sense of direction. And for people who they like to have that sense of direction, the natural action is for them to create plans, to build scenarios, because it helps them to feel like they have a sense of direction. They feel like they're working toward a goal. All right, so the guys who like to shape potential, sometimes they're just dreaming. They're always thinking about, oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do that. Oh, I got this idea. Oh, I got that idea. Now, there's a benefit in that. There's a lot of benefit in that. But there's also a benefit for the guy that says, yeah, I can hear what you're saying. You have a great idea. Yes, that is potential that we can develop. And this is how we can do it. This is how we can do it. All right, so shaping, you need people on your team that are like, I got an idea. Oh yeah, we can do it this way. I see some potential. Of course, you need these dreamers, right? These creative people, the people who can see into the future, the people who are motivated to develop that potential. But where does the rubber hit the road? I mean, you have to make a plan. I mean, it's the step after the plan where the rubber actually hits the road. But before the rubber can hit the road, you need a plan. All right? So you also need a person on the team who can help you to step by step to walk through the process of what are the scenarios. And do we have enough information to really make this decision? The other idea, are you ready? Optimize risk taking or exposure to risk. Optimize risk taking or exposure to risk. So people who enjoy optimizing risk taking or exposure to risk, these are also the people who like to create plans. Because the thing is, it's like, if you understand the risk, why is it? How is it that you understand the risk? All right, well, because I did the research. Remember, there's 3 sections related to, this is not going to be good. There's 3, sorry. There's 3 sections to forming an agenda. One is the assumptions, creating the assumptions, which means making sure that the information meets the needs for information. And then you use that information to what? Build the scenarios. And then finally, you choose the plan. So there's 3 areas. Now, optimizing risk taking or exposure to risk. All right, that means you have done the research. It means that information meets needs. I understand the risk. I understand the risk. And I'm going to optimize the exposure. All right, so like if you are going to go out on your own and create a business, it means there's risk, right? Because before you were like, it was nice to have the job and the paycheck and pay the taxes, and there's all the benefit of having somebody else taking care of you, and you're just taking care of this one little piece. But then all of a sudden you say, hey, I want to take on some risk, right? So if you're going to do all the jobs, that means you're going to get all the reward, but it also means you have to do all the work. All right. And then there's no guarantee. All right. Because like you have to motivate yourself. You have to outline the job. You have to understand the job. You have to connect with the customers. You have to connect with the providers. You have to do everything. And that there's a huge amount of risk in that because maybe you're not that motivated. Maybe you're not that knowledgeable. Maybe you're not that lucky. There's a lot of risk involved with this process of starting your own business or starting a new program or running a new department or creating a new product or developing a new feature or creating a new grassroots innovation program. There's always going to be risk in the endeavors that you work toward. So you want to optimize. You need to find somebody who can optimize that exposure to risk. That means that they understand the risk and that they will make a plan based on the right amount of risk. Too much risk, maybe there's more reward, but there also is the opportunity of falling flat on your face. Not enough risk, well, that means less reward. Means maybe you're doing less work, or maybe you're doing more work, but because you reduce the risk. Like think about diving. These people who dive, if they make that dive much more difficult and they land it, then the reward is powerful. They win because the risk multiplied by the execution. If the risk is high and the execution is flawless, they have a fantastic mark. But unfortunately, if the risk is high, but they fall flat on their belly in the water, then they don't do well. And because it's so difficult, there is quite an increased risk of falling flat on their face. All right, so now what Dr. Buchholz has done here is he has written down these program principles, and specifically some of the principles which are connected with optimizing risk-taking or exposure to risk. Number 2, deploy easy-to-use systems. All right? So this is one way to reduce risk. Reduce risk. All right? So make it easy for people to use. Encourage self-sufficiency for, number 3. Encourage self-sufficiency for organizations and people using technology. Encourage self-sufficiency for organizations and people using technology. All right, so how do you encourage self-sufficiency? All right, so this is probably centered around some type of training program, some type of mentoring, helping people and organizations to use the technology. So that's reducing the risk, because if they don't know how to use it, they're not going to buy the upgrades. Number 4, foster integration of processes and technology. All right, so that's another way that you can reduce risk. All right, so we're talking about optimizing risk-taking or exposure to risk. And in this case, we're trying to reduce our exposure to risk. So if we're going to foster integration of processes into technology. All right, so we want to make sure that the processes in the organization are directly connected to the technology which we are selling them. So obviously, it seems like all of these reductions of risk are talking about people not using the technology. All right, so next one is 5. Another program principle is to foster flexibility for accomplishing and sharing work and for taking advantage of changing technology. All right, so we want this technology to help us to accomplish work. All right, the technology has to be able to accomplish work. Also, the technology needs to help us to share the work that we're doing. And finally, and for taking advantage of taking advantage of changing technology. That means that this software program, it needs to be able to be able to upgrade in the future and take advantages. Because I mean, in this time, even now, the computers were changing rapidly, other software elements were improving rapidly. And so this is the opportunity. They wanted to take advantage of these new technologies, allow people to share work and accomplish work. So this is, again, reducing the risk that their technology will become obsolete. Number 6, integrate new technology-based information into the company's overall information resources. All right, so when they're using this technology, they're starting to develop information. And they want to make sure that the information developed by the technology is also available with other information resources. So we need to be able to use this across platforms. We need to be able to utilize this software and the information that's coming from this software. And finally, promote proper sequencing and timing of progress. All right. I have no idea what that means. If you know what that means, leave a description below. Promote proper sequencing and timing of progress. All right, so this is another question. I can go to Dr. Thomas Buchholz and ask him what this means. So in this program, so we just read some of the program principles of introducing that new technology in a grassroots innovation program like 40 years ago in a company. Now, how does that connect with your business today? All right, so what are ways? So in the things I was talking about before, we were talking about optimizing risk taking, like how much risk can you take on? And now exposure to risk, because every single example here is talking about ways you can reduce the risk. Reduce the risk of what? Reduce the risk of people not buying the product in the future. Reduce the risk of people not being able to use the software properly. Reducing these types of risks will certainly help you to improve the integration of people with that technology. So, do you have a person in your company who's motivated to find the risks? They just love looking at the product and trying to match it up with the people. They're just motivated. They just love to understand the needs of the customer. What are the needs? How are they going to use this product? What are going to be the obstacles of them using it? And as they use it, how can they get information out of it? How can they understand the product better? How is it going to integrate with their systems? How is it going to improve their efficiency? Are they going to be able to be flexible? Can they stay on top of the learning curve? Can they learn about these processes themselves? Like all of these different aspects and elements of using our product or service. Is it as easy as possible? Does it flow? Does it feel natural? Do the colors, do the shapes, do the sizes? Does everything about it feel good? How does it feel? So if you can find a guy that is just passionate about making sure that your end user is comfortable, that every single type of risk, every type of friction, which might cause a customer to have a difficult time with your product. If you find somebody who's just motivated to work on that type of thing, put him in that department because he will thrive. Thank you for tuning into Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates.